Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair is reiterating the importance of the measures rolled out in last month's budget. Speaking at the Democratic Labour Party's Astor B. Watts weekly lunchtime lecture, Mr. Sinclair charges that most of the opposition rhetoric stems from surprise that it wasn't an election budget to woo Barbadians. The finance minister says that's what the Barbados Labour Party would have done while the government is showing responsibility.
We operate on the basis of doing what we believe is right for Barbados. And if sometimes that causes some discomfiture, or it may cause some unpopularity in the party, we know that we can rest at night because we have taken the course of action that is most responsible and mature, rather than going for a course of action that may bring short-term excitement, because I don't know that's a gain, but short-term excitement to some, but long-term everlasting pain to a whole set of other people.
Minister Sinclair says the reason for Barbados's economic woes stem directly from the 2008 financial crisis, noting that the United States, England and much of Europe still have not recovered from it either. He says there is a false narrative that Barbados is the lone country in the region still suffering from the recession.
Jamaica is the star boy for the International Monetary Fund, the poster child for the International Monetary Fund. This is their A49 program. And they celebrated that they got 1.1% economic growth. Is it the Bahamas? How many people know that the Bahamas was downgraded to junk status by one of its ratings agencies? How many people in here know that? You would think that Barbados is the only country that's gone downgraded. How many people know that Trinidad and Tobago had its thing downgraded supposedly by one agency to junk status? But you would think it is only Barbados.
Barbados's unemployment rate for 2016 stood at 9.7%. That's a decrease of 1.6 percentage points from the 11.3% recorded at the end of 2015. Now, this is according to statistics from the Barbados Statistical Service's Continuous Household Labour Force Survey. It's indicated that the unemployment rate among males stood at 9.3% and 10.1% among females. Now, in the review period, the number of people employed totaled 132,900. 67,500 were males and 65,400 were females. The number of people in the labor force stood at 147,200, and the number of people not actively looking for work was 74,000. It took just about 2 hours for professional beekeepers to destroy the hive which housed the bees that killed 35-year-old Nicholas Shepherd in Marchfield yesterday. Shane Jones was on the scene and filed this report.
The road was closed to the public as police made sure there was no repeat of yesterday's tragedy. 6 professional beekeepers suited up for the hour-and-a-half job. They estimate that the hive could house 50 to 80,000 honeybees, and based on their inspection, Shepherd could have been stung by between 10 and 20,000 of them. David Small headed the group, and he explained it would be an intricate operation.
I'm going to try to remove the hive before causing any more hardship or any more loss of life. I think the best thing for me to do would be to destroy the hive, because looking at it just now, we can see the majority of the bees are off the hive, which means that all those bees were on him yesterday and they got yesterday.
So explain to me how delicate a situation in terms of removing or destroying the hive.
It's pretty delicate in that you got to do everything in a hurry, because you don't want what happened yesterday happen again today. So my aim is to go up. I'm waiting on Williams to bring a step ladder for me now, and then we go up and just try to do the job as fast and as quick as possible.
The beekeepers used smoke to mask the alarm pheromones and liquid detergent to slow down the bees who were agitated for 2 straight days.
What happens is when you disturb a hive, bees are going to sense that you are there. One bee is going to come and sting you, and then they're going to smell that pheromone, and that pheromone is going to tell the other bees in the hive you have to protect the hive and the queen. So basically that's what happened yesterday.
So if you were there yesterday when you saw if the guy got stung, or anyone being stung by a bee and they're potentially close to a hive, what would you advise them to do?
Run as fast as possible. I think what compound the issue yesterday is that because the guy probably did not know, and he just ran close, but the bees will still be on him because his scent is there. And if he had gone, like run through the bush, at least try to get away from the hive as far as possible, maybe.
Shepard's shirt was recovered under the tree, still covered in bees. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Thanks, Shane. Barbados could soon have a cadre of consultant teachers. This pool of professionals is being developed to compensate for those who are promoted to other roles within the education system. Minister of Education Ronald Jones provided some insight into the proposal during an orientation session for a number of courses for teachers at Erdeston Teachers Training College.
Maybe in a year we will have people called consultant teachers. Ones whose skills, knowledge and ability and aptitude surpasses that of their peers. And yes, there would have to be more money attached to the post. Yes, you just don't give a man a name without giving him some money. Or person, let me change the person.
Minister Jones reminded teachers they shouldn't change just because they're appointed. He also announced more appointments are coming.
Those who are appointed and enjoying the appointment, that shouldn't really make a difference in your teaching, because if you were good, you should continue to be good. And if you were better, you should continue to be better. And if you were the best, you should become superlative. So those I got the appointment now so I can get better. We'll be doing another 100 and something shortly. And then we have one final tranche to go for primary schools. And we're going to ensure as well that secondary will also be beneficiaries of the appointments.
Chairman of the Board of Management at Erdeston Teachers Training College, Dr. Leah Gardner-O'Neill, fully supports continuous training of teachers. She reminded teachers they must be knowledgeable, not only in their subject areas.
You must be skilled in classroom management. In this day and age, definitely in technology integration, but most importantly, in interpersonal skills as well. You must have awesome depositions. Students don't just learn what you tell them, they learn from what you do. True? Great. So you must have reflective wisdom. You must be culturally aware and accepting of the diversities you will find in your classroom.
A primary school principal is concerned about what he considers to be a flaw in the education system regarding special needs students in the mainstream. Principal of St. Stephen's Primary, Dr. Colin Cumberbatch, voiced his concerns at his school's graduation ceremony. Now, he says special needs students should not be forced to write the Common Entrance exam.
The time has come for the Ministry of Education to mandate that when these students are placed in special needs units to be provided with developmentally suitable instruction, their transition from primary to secondary education should not involve the Barbados Secondary Schools Entrance Exam, but the transition be facilitated through some medium, preferably a continuous assessment model, which would allow developmentally appropriate instruction to continue into these students' teenage lives.
If these students are exposed to the secondary school environment too early, Dr. Cumberbatch believes it may be difficult for them to adjust.
There is absolutely no way that some of these students can cope with what they will encounter when they enter secondary school. My heart bleeds for some of our graduates today who may become casualties of this dilemma. I am not crying down the children, I am not crying down their parents, but I am condemning a system that perpetuates this cycle of absurdity.
Some of the top students in this year's Common Entrance are being rewarded by the business community for their efforts. A number of them received prizes in special recognition ceremony from telecommunications company Digicel. Shane Jones was there.
Top girl Tashani Jordan of Christchurch Girls, along with Blackman and Gollop's top boy Jovan Linton, received LTE Samsung tablets from Digicel. However, Digicel did not only reward the top two. Christchurch Girls' Most Improved student Vanessa Wiggins and Blackman and Gollop's Most Improved Ethan Small also received tablets along with Digicel top student Joshua Carter. Digicel's CEO Charlie Clemenston urged the students to use technology and the internet to their advantage.
Whether you're the President of America or living in a grass hut in the middle of don't know where, everyone who's got access to the internet gets access to that information, and I just think that's a great leveler, and it's a really beautiful thing. So it's all that information you get when you're doing your exams and when you're doing your revising and when you're doing your homework at night. My kids are all there Googling stuff they don't understand. They come to me about they got chemistry exams this morning at school, and they're all going, what's this, what's that? And I'm going, Googling it quickly in the car, trying to work out, I don't know what that means. And all that information is there straight away. And so we wanted to make that link, really, and we wanted to congratulate you first of all for your amazing achievements, and we also wanted to make a gift to you as a celebration of that achievement too.
Top boy Jovan Linton already knows how he will use his new gift.
I can go on the internet, search up sites that can give me various tests to test my knowledge and help me with my studies. I can also go on YouTube, find people who would help me with things like, say, problems that I would have. And technology is just like a tool. It isn't something to like worship or play games with all the time. It's just something to help us humans with what we need to do.
Tishani Jordan was gracious in accepting her prize.
I'd like to thank all the members of Digicel for providing us with these gifts to congratulate us, and I'm sure that we will put them to good use. And I would also like to congratulate all the other children who did their best.
Tishani and Jovan will be heading to Queen's College in September. Shane Jones, CBC News.
And there's more news after this break. Stay with us.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
We start with a yes. But when life takes unexpected turns, you can still say yes to more. The Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card gives you points with every purchase that you can use to travel to anywhere. Plus, with just 20,000 Scotia points, you can say yes to destinations. With Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card, it's easier to say yes to everything. Apply today.
The Anglican Church has lost its initial appeal, and according to one of its priests, that's why people tend to be attracted to the newer, unfamiliar churches. Sharika Griffith reports.
Rector of St. Barnabas Church, Reverend Mark Herwood, says people are drawn to anything unfamiliar and extraordinary. And for as long as the Anglican Church has been around, it's no longer regarded as either of those things.
You can only be extraordinary for a certain amount of time. After a while, when you're new, then you stop being new. As I said, in the new car smell, it stops. No matter what you do, it stops. It has a certain timeline. And the same thing happens is that even when new churches crop up all the time, good, maybe ministries or leading of God, when people, as was stated in our second reading, people go and toss to and fro with every wind of doctrine. Why? Because we want something new.
Reverend Herwood made the comments during a service to install Reverend Joseph King as rector of the St. Cyprian Church. The occasion was attended by Bishop the Most Reverend Dr. the Honourable John Holder and several men and women of the cloth. Reverend Herwood also cautioned the newer priests in the congregation about overexerting their power.
Sometimes as priests, especially when we're new, we want to, I've mentioned this before, when I've introduced new incumbents to the parishes, that sometimes there's a temptation, because we want to make our mark, let persons know that we are here, that we emphasize that we're in charge. And we emphasize that we're in charge in terms of wanting to effect that persons will know that our ministry has started. And sometimes we have a situation where persons will change everything.
Prior to becoming rector, Reverend King has been priest in charge of the St. Cyprian's Church for more than 4 years. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
The infant mortality rate has been constant for Barbados. That's the word from consultant in the Department of Pediatrics at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Dr. Clyde Cave.
The level at which we have targeted for our newborn mortality rate is somewhere around the level of 6 per thousand, and it's been, on good years, we have reached that target, but in a small population there are always going to be variations. There are still some babies who are born with problems that are beyond our abilities to help. And it's not just the survival that tells the whole picture, it's the quality of survival and how well they do.
Founder of the Nature Fun Ranch, Corey Lane, is calling on Barbadians to support the development of young people. He says there are some Barbadians who are losing faith in the youth, but he believes the youth can excel if given a second chance.
They're eager, they're always calling, they want to be a part. And I think that all the time we cry down young people. So we curse in the darkness. What I would like Barbados to do is to light a candle, find a way that they can help projects like mine and others, the Nature Fun Ranch, in terms of turning young people around.
He was speaking at the Nature Fun Ranch in Bruceville, St. Andrew yesterday afternoon. $5,000 was donated by Tropical Shipping to keep the project up and running. So far, over 2,000 people have passed through the program, and Mr. Lane also says the program has made a positive change in young people.
We work with some of the most at-risk young people, and because the things that we do here are so attractive, it makes them want to come. And then when we have their attention, we're able then to put in the education. We're able then to say, how can we empower you? How can we tap into the things what do you really want to be? Me, myself, used to get travel as a young person. And what turned me around is because I got a set of goals. So because I'm going somewhere, I know what would take me off of that path. So I'm not going off of that path. And that worked for me, and it's worked for over 92% of the young people that passed through here from 1998.
Barbados High Commissioner to the UK has welcomed news that inspections have been completed into other high-rise units across the country in the wake of the deadly Grenfell fire. Reverend Guy Hewitt says a contingency plan is to be put in place for any other building deemed vulnerable to a similar catastrophe.
Unconfirmed reports that have reached the mission indicate that possibly 600 of the 4,000 tower blocks could have combustible cladding similar to that which was used on the Grenfell Tower. As High Commissioner, I have been in touch with Barbadian residents in the vicinity of the Grenfell Tower who have been infected both by the loss of friends and loss of access due to utility failures and some road closures. The mission is planning to host, in conjunction with the Barbadian associations and local churches, an outreach program to help support the healing process. We are talking to the Barbadians in the community, and we are waiting on them to tell us when it would be the best time for this to take place.
Reverend Hewitt says efforts continue to raise funds for those affected.
The charity single to support the Grenfell Tower families, the cover of Simon and Garfunkel's classic hit Bridge Over Troubled Water, was released and went straight to #1 on iTunes. The single, the brainchild of X Factor and Britain's Got Talent judge and frequent visitor to Barbados Simon Cowell, is expected to raise millions of pounds for the survivors. The single was recorded over the weekend at the Sarm Music Village, which is in the same neighborhood as the Grenfell Tower, and it features an all-star choir including celebrities such as Rita Ora, James Blunt, Craig David, Pixie Lott, Emil Sand, Robbie Williams, and members of One Direction.
Still to come, the TNT government set aside millions for relief after Brett.
Peoples, we store just got even better. Come on in. Come down to the new renovated People's Market in Tudor Bridge with bigger aisles and even more in store. All your general grocery needs. a whole new fruits and vegetable section, beer, wine and liquor, a wide selection of meat and fish, and everything for your outdoor chilling and barbecue grilling. But most of all, everything at low prices. Right, Miss Evans?
That's right, Ma. And now we have the People's Mall too.
People, come on down to the People's Market in Tudor Bridge.
Starting June 25th on 100.7 QFM.
If you had to be in a position to vote yes or no.
Issues of the day.
You can't live in a society where you don't feel like you're part of the society.
Matters that concern you.
So we stop locking up people for having a split.
The conversations that are buzzing everywhere.
You need to bridge that disconnect between the have and the have not.
Tune in to Walter Point 2, bringing clarity to national issues. Sundays 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. on 100.7 QFM with live viewing on CBC TV 8.
The Trinidad and Tobago government has set aside $25 million to bring immediate relief to those affected by Tropical Storm Brett. This as it seeks to refute claims that its response to the passage of the weather system was itself a disaster. At the post-cabinet briefing, various ministers gave an update on relief efforts across the country. We get more in this CNC3 report.
The full extent of the damage caused by Tropical Storm Brett is still being assessed, but there's some good news for those who've been directly impacted.
The cabinet approved the Prime Minister's proposal and have asked the Minister of Finance to establish a fund of $25 million for immediate assistance with relief coming out of the effects of Tropical Storm Brett.
The fund was established immediately, and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister Stuart Young says procedures already in place will be used for the disbursement of funds through the Ministries of Works, Social Development and Local Government. He says there's a reason that the process remains unchanged.
There is the possibility of a lot of fraud taking place. So the decision taken by Cabinet is to utilize the already in place procedures at the three ministries for the dispensation of this $25 million fund.
Minister Young says those funds will also be used to help compensate farmers who would have lost thousands of dollars worth of crops as a result of flooding. At the post-cabinet briefing, Minister Young was asked whether he was satisfied with government's response following claims that it handled preparation efforts poorly.
All of the resources were utilized. I think the population saw constant bulletins, the television stations and the media played a role in keeping the public aware, and the information was filtering out. You would remember on Monday there was a media conference where the persons who are charged with the responsibility came forward and told the population what was taking place. So no, we do not accept that, and we completely reject that there was any complete disaster.
The relevant agencies are still collecting information about how many people were affected. The Minister of Social Development says citizens can access various grants for the damage to their homes, loss of appliances, school books and more.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, a High Court judge has sentenced a 50-year-old father of four, to 20 years in jail. This after he was found guilty of having sex with one of his daughters. The man, whose name is not being disclosed, had been found guilty in April after he pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of indecent assault, 2 counts of grievous sexual assault and attempted incest. But Justice David Harris said the sentence imposed on the man had to reflect the court's abhorrence and serve as a deterrent to people thinking about committing similar acts. He said that the most serious of the 5 offenses against the father was attempted incest, which carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. The judge said that the single parent had betrayed the trust between father and daughter. As mandated by the Constitution, the Women and Gender Equality Commission in Guyana has submitted its 5th and 6th annual report. Chairperson of the commission, Indra Shadapal, says, however, more follow-up is needed regarding the recommendations in the report.
The Women and Gender Equality Commission has battled with a number of challenges to execute its mandate and has made 22 recommendations which are to be considered by the National Assembly. That's the hope of Chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission, Indra Chanderpal.
I believe that the Commission has done a good job given all the difficulties and challenges. There were challenges, but nonetheless we have soldiered on and to the point where we are here today presenting our 5th and 6th report. But before I make the official presentations, I want to bring to your attention, we have made 22 recommendations for the National Assembly to consider.
Chairperson of the Women and Gender Equality Commission, Indra Chanderpal, during the presentation of the 5th and 6th annual report of her commission on Wednesday. She stated that the reports serve as testimony to the work which the Women and Gender Equality Commission has done.
A lot of valuable work is done, and when you present the report and you lay it, that's all you do. But we need to take it a step.
Meanwhile, Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Barton Scotland, stated that this commission is a very important one in Guyana, but he is not satisfied with the manner in which reports are treated.
There must be consequences to the presentation of the reports. In that respect, I do not fob the issue. I think I must bear some responsibility for that, because the House ought to be engaged in the recommendations of the report.
We'll have a peek into the world of sports in just a moment, but just before we get to that, here is a tip now from Cooperators General Insurance.